Good afternoon. This is a regular City Commission meeting for the City of Largo. Today is Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with an invocation given by Major Ted Morris from the Salvation Army, and then if you could please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you that we live in a country where discussions regarding the betterment of our community can take place in a public forum such as this. This freedom which was afforded us by our founding fathers is not taken for granted. Bless each person on this commission, as upon their shoulders have been placed the mantle of leadership for a time. May they stand firm on their convictions while at the same time listening to the opinions of others. Thank you for our mayor and his leadership in our community. Bless the deliberations and discussions that take place this evening. May they be productive and beneficial to as many of our citizens as possible. Thank you for those tasked with the safety of our residents, law enforcement and fire and rescue, as well as all those working behind the scenes on various committees and boards and commissions, all with the same goal, that of keeping the city of Largo the beautiful city that it is. And for it's in your name we make this petition this evening. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Major Morris. And I will mention that on the 6th of December, I will be part of the Kettle Drive over at the Publix on Clearwater Largo Road and West Bay Drive from 10 until 7, so come and see me there, please. Next, we will move to citizens' comment. If you'd like to speak about something on the agenda outside of the consent docket, please wait until that item comes up. Do we have any cards this evening?
We have one card, Craig Murtha.
It was a short wait. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about, Craig Murtha, Largo, Florida. I always forget that. I wanted to talk a little bit about that Live Local Act. I noticed that they left out the, when they changed it, they still gave the cities the ability to regulate floor area ratio, setbacks, retention areas, I think pervious surface area. I think it's been a while since I read that, so don't take that to the bank, but I'm pretty sure. So I wonder why, I hear all these cities around the state all upset, and I wonder why they don't just use like floor area ratio more in residential. I'm not even sure if you can, but if you could, it seems like that would be a much better way of regulating residential than units per acre, because with units per acre, it could be like a 500 square foot unit or a 2,000 square foot unit. But with floor area ratio, you know exactly what you're getting. I mean, if you had a floor area ratio of 1 in downtown, that would give you about an acre is 43,560 square feet, so that would give you 43,560 square feet of space, which would be about 43 units per acre. If you used it even in residential areas, if you had a floor area ratio of 0.25 on an 8,000 square foot lot, you could build a 2,000 square foot house. And then that would keep you from getting too big a house on too small a lot. And then, of course, maintain all the setbacks, because I think that's one of the worst things we could do is reduce setbacks. Setbacks are so important. They're there for a reason, and I don't know why we would ever really want to reduce setbacks, because in the setbacks you have green space and vegetation, trees. Once we start really reducing all these setbacks, we're going to lose all of that. And I'm glad that they relaxed height limitations, because I think it's one of the worst things we can do is keep raising your units per acre while holding down height limitations, because then we end up getting buildings that are really wide and we start losing green space, public space, trees, and everything starts looking jammed up. So I would rather use floor area ratio everywhere throughout residential if possible, and that'll regulate height anyhow, because you can only build so high. I mean, if you keep a lid on it through floor area ratio, I mean, if you're building 43 units per acre, you could, you're only going to go so far. And yeah, and the other thing, Well, and also, height, speaking of height, in Sarasota, a smaller town than us, they have got so many 15-story buildings, and Sarasota is a beautiful town. And so that's just something we should think about. And being in downtown, if you had 15-story buildings, think about the top 10 floors would start getting really nice views. And I think that some of the floors, some of the top floors, would see all the way out to Tampa Bay.
Thank you. Next, that's all the cards, right? Yeah, thank you. Before we move on to approval of the agenda, I would ask that somebody make a motion so we can allow Vice Mayor Girard to join us virtually.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome, Vice Mayor Girard. And next is approval of tonight's agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll consider the minutes from the regular meeting of November 7th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
Any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
Item 3, resolution number 2379, authorizing applications through Resilient Florida Grant Program. Item 4, resolution number 2381, endorsing the Advantage Pinellas Housing Action Plan. Item 5, resolution number 2382, authorizing an application through the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act Grant Program. Item 6, resolution number 2383, adopting the 2024 Federal Legislative Action Agenda. Item 7, resolution number 2384, adopting the 2024 State Legislative Action Agenda. Item 8, approval of the Largo Industrial Park partial replat. Item 9, award of RFQ number 22-Q-745, construction manager at risk services for the Fire Station number 39 reconstruction project to Wharton Smith Incorporated for a guaranteed maximum price of $9,920,595.
Thank you. For the consent docket, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion, including staff background provided in the commission packets. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is ordinance number 2024-01 on second reading.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. This is a second reading of ordinance number 2024-01, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 11. Just a quick overview. First, we'll be going over the directive from the first reading. Then we'll be going over a quick comparison to our neighboring municipalities. And finally, the proposed amendments to the ordinance. So during the first reading, held on October 17, 2023, it was approved by a vote of 6-1. The directive was to amend specifically Section 11-78 concerning residential parking. That was specifically to add some additional requirements for recreational vehicle length and improved parking surface. A quick comparison to some of our neighboring municipalities when it comes to the improved parking surfaces and their recreational vehicle length. Pinellas Park does not require their recreational vehicles to be parked on improved surface. However, they do require that the grass underneath be maintained, and then their maximum vehicle length is at 21 feet. Pinellas County does not have a requirement for the improved surface or a restriction on vehicle length. And then finally, Clearwater does require that improved parking surface and has a limit of 25 feet for their recreational vehicle length. So finally, coming to our proposed amendment to Section 11-78, we proposed that the recreational vehicles cannot exceed a total length of 25 feet, and they must be parked on improved surface. That includes things like gravel, pavers, asphalt, or concrete. And staff is available for any questions or comments.
Ordinance number 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending Chapter 11, Environment of the City of Largo Code of Ordinances by amending Section 11-19 to regulate public nuisances generally, including any conditions that are prejudicial to the health, safety, or well-being of the public, and to allow the city to abate nuisances that are caused or created, amending Section 11-20 to regulate the discharge of noxious fumes and debris on any property within the city, amending Section 1121 to require that pits be maintained and to prohibit water from becoming a public nuisance, amending Section 11-46 to redefine certain terms consistent with the changes made by this ordinance, amending Section 11-47 to replace property maintenance requirements related to the lawn care with requirements related to general outdoor clutter by prohibiting debris and other enumerated objects from being kept outdoors, amending Section 11-48 to add property maintenance requirements related to lawn care, amending Section 11-49 to clarify existing provisions related to nuisance abatement, amending Section 11-73 to add various defined terms, including defined terms related to vehicles and commercial equipment, consistent with the changes being made by this ordinance, repealing Section 1174, amending Section 1175 to incorporate the defined term inoperative vehicles, amending Section 11-76 to revise the manner in which the city provides notices regarding inoperative vehicles, repealing Section 11-77, amending Section 11-78 to incorporate various new defined terms and to revise when certain vehicles may and may not be parked or stored in certain residential areas, repealing Section 11-80, amending Section 11-82 to remove the building official's authority to enforce the article and to allow the community standards manager to enforce the article, amending Section 11-83 to clarify the form of the notice that the city provides for local ordinance violations, amending Section 11-111 to revise the definition of motor vehicle to include all electric vehicles, amending Section 11-114 to authorize the city manager to delegate his or her authority regarding waivers from noise requirements, amending Section 11-118 to clarify that the section applies specifically to watercrafts, amending Section 11-119 to expand the noise prohibition from applying only to mechanical or electrical devices to applying to all forms of devices, amending Section 11-121 to provide that violations of the article are punishable in accordance with Chapter 9 of the Code, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have 6 cards. First is Dwight Bolanowski.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff, public. Residents have asked for the removal of the 50-foot setback rule for Chapter 1178. They want the right-of-way line identified for placement of stored vehicles. Replacing a number with another does not solve the problem. If you're going to do something, do it right. Do it right the first time. 1178 should have its own designated ordinance placement and not be lumped in with unrelated items. Residents spoke of their vehicles, not junk, trash, debris, overgrowth, or fumes. You don't mix white clothes with dark clothes in your washing machine, so don't mix unrelated items in ordinances. My city block is surrounded by unincorporated Pinellas County. There were 3 points of violators, point A, B, and C. I'm point A. And you have to go down by point B and C to get to point A, which is me. I get a notice. B and C gets nothing. Are we address targeting? Point B, still, even after the reinspection was taking place, still has not received a thing. Like I say, if you're going to do something, do it right. People will gladly follow rules that are reasonable. Largo sets the rules. You don't have to copy what Pinellas Park, Clearwater, Dunedin, Safety Harbor, St. Pete, etc. currently have. If people don't like the rules that you have set forth, they have a choice. They can move. Are you going to allow different kinds of covers or ports to house the items which was mentioned, which evidently you will? People constantly park their regular vehicles on the right-of-way and across sidewalks, and nothing is done about it. It is your rules, and it is your responsibility to enforce them. Use common sense courtesy in letting residents know that a violation has been abated. I have received nothing. I ended up coming in today to get the notice that that has been abated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Lauser.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. So, once again, we're here, and it seems like from the last time, we were almost there. We were almost making a common sense rule change, and now this new one is actually more strict. Limiting it to 25 feet is more strict than it was before, at least in my case and probably many other cases. So I have a 22-foot boat, but overall length, I went and measured yesterday, 29 feet from the tip of the outboard motor to the tongue of the trailer. So now, even though I can put my boat, I can get it back far enough to be within the 50-foot setback, under this new ordinance, I can't keep my boat in front of my house. 25 feet is kind of silly. I think that we should use some common sense here and let the size limit. Like, all these lots are different sizes. If you've got a half-acre lot on a $1 million house and you want a 40-foot boat and you could put it safely in front of your house, put a 40-foot boat in front of your house. I can't. It'd be hanging over the sidewalk, out into the road. Most other people in this room, it would be too. So it seems kind of silly. I understand the improved surface. Let's keep it classy, but limiting to 25 feet is going to take out a majority of the travel trailers and any boat that's actually decent to go out in the water. I mean, you can have a skiff or a john boat on a trailer. That's about it. So, with that said, I would appreciate you guys at least reconsidering the length determination. Make it something reasonable. Like, I don't want a shrimp trawler in my neighborhood either. But nobody in our neighborhood has the room to put a shrimp trawler. So, like, let the size already be its limit. We can't make more property, but we can use our property. And please let us use our property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Amanda Lauser.
Amanda Lauser, King Lake Manor. Piggybacking on my husband's comments, we moved to this area because we live close to a beach and we live close to the water and we want to be in the water. And so we bought a boat that we thought was safe to travel on the water with our kids. There's nothing on a 25-foot trailer that I would take my family out into the Gulf now. If this is going to be the restriction, I beg you to really look at who you're going to be upsetting. You're going to be upsetting most of the boats that are out in driveways right now. You're going to be upsetting the fact that we just don't even have any other options. Storage for boats of our size that we want active, we want to be able to say, hey, drop it in the water. Understandable, it's a cost. It's a premium to have a boat, we get it. But it's not an option for us for a weekend to say, hey, drop the boat in the water. There's so many other people in line and the spaces are already taken up. I'm a real estate agent. The boat slips are becoming a commodity of their own at these condos. First come, first get. So I understand that we have our restrictions. You understand we have our restrictions. The ambiguity of this 25 overall fee, if it's the boat length, all right. But if it is sincerely the trailer, that is incredibly disappointing because I thought we were here last time we got together at this meeting. Now I feel like I'm here. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mark Junkins.
How you doing? Mark Junket to Largo. Nice to see you, Mayor, and everybody else. I'm hearing the same thing. We were here last time, and I thought we were here. I have, from my garage to the sidewalk, I have 28 feet. That's it. I have a little bit on the side where I could probably push my boat back a little bit, but then I can't take my trash cans out and put my trash cans back. So 25 feet is just a little bit less. I mean, even if it was 30 foot, I could fit my boat there and it would be no issue. My boat's only 22 foot. You know, you get a little extension trailer, you're gonna have 3 foot of the trailer ton. So 25 foot, say, in overall length, I would say 25 foot if you wanted to go 25 foot, but not overall length. Because your boat, 22-foot boat, it's 28 foot total length. So I could squeeze it all the way back and I can be in, but I can't get my garbage cans out. I only have 28 feet. That's it, from the garage to the sidewalk. So, and then this rule, then, like you had before, 25 foot, I could park it in front of my house on the grass and, you know, look like crap, or put some pad there and look like crap, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep Largo looking good. I have a pad, I have a nice boat, I keep it covered, it's tagged, it's legal. I like to go fishing when I want to go fishing, not, like he said, keep it in storage and have to say, oh, it's $400 to keep it in storage. Well, I can't afford that. You know, I can afford to go fishing on my boat a couple times a month. I want to take my grandkids fishing. So kind of relook at this maybe, and let's figure this out. Because we were here, and now we're here again, like you said. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Craig Murtha.
Hello. I haven't studied this as well as these other gentlemen that have boats, but I have some thoughts on it. You know, I don't know what the 50-foot is all about exactly, but I think the most important thing is that we have a line of sight triangle in front of every house. I know I've seen other jurisdictions where they want 15-foot line of sight, so when you're trying to pull out of a driveway, you don't want somebody else's vehicle or boat out there blocking your view. Seems like that should come into play. But, you know, I think about traffic. The reason why I'm in favor of having boats in front yards is because if you can't, then you've got to store them off-site. Now the people have to drive somewhere, go get the boat, and then take it, you know, to the marina, and then drive to the storage site, and then drive home. So it's putting more cars in the road. So I always think of everything, you know, I always look at everything through a health lens and an environmental lens, you know, when I think about all of these issues. And that's an environmental issue, putting more fumes, more traffic. So I'm in favor of having these boats in front as long as we can do it right, and that's up to, I'm sure you guys are working on doing that right. Also, you know, if you put boats in backyards, sometimes people have to cut down trees or shrubs, and then we lose trees and shrubs. And then when we're putting, and I had a neighbor who had a boat, and they used to put it in the backyard, and it took them forever to get it back there, and he had a diesel truck, and I would just listen to that diesel and just back and forth, trying to get in that tiny little alley. And I thought, wow, I wish he could just put it in front of the house, and then I wouldn't have to listen to that all the way towards the back. So, you know, so, you know, and I wouldn't have to breathe those fumes because I like to keep my windows open a lot. Plus, if you have this stuff in the front, it's easier for code enforcement to enforce things, and it's also easier for mosquito control guys to check boats because, you know, it's more difficult, especially if there's a fenced-in yard. It gets a little, you know, tricky for code enforcement or mosquito control to get back there. It can become a dangerous situation for them. So it's just better to have things up front where you can see them and take care of them, and we'd have less mosquitoes. I think if with more boats in backyards, we're more likely to have mosquito problems in those boats. And just storing in backyards in general, that's the big issue, because, I mean, so many people hoard things in backyards and cause mosquito problems, but that's outside of this, I think, a little bit. And you know, that grass, or, you know, the improved surface, I'm not sure exactly what your code says, but, you know, when we improve the surface, we're adding more concrete, and that's more, you know, water runoff. So, you know, for me, that's an environmental issue. I'd rather tolerate, you know, a little grass growing up around, or, you know, I think it'd just be better if it just maybe required a mulch surface. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Michael Peltier.
Michael Pelletier, 10333 127th Place, Largo, Florida. Hello, Mr. Mayor. Hello, Commissioners. Hello, City Managers, and Attorney. I'd like to, you all know where I stood on this all the time anyway. I've issued letters and talked and I don't want to go through all that redundancy again, but I just want to thank you for the one provision you did put on there. You changed the 25-foot rule. That's a great thing. That's a good start. I think we need to do some more. I don't know how we would do more without stopping this issue, but I think some more is great. I want to be sure, though, that the word overall measurement, it means the trailer, accessories, dive platform, whatever happens to be on this boat or this RV vehicle, because RV is the name. So be sure that that definition is clear in the same way that's defined in 1778.D.1.C as overall ways defined in that particular passage. Be sure it's used that way. It is in compliance with Clearwater, what you've done. Clearwater specifically spells out a 20-foot boat on a 25-foot trailer. So I think this is in keeping with general movement of the area around us, which is important to do. I see the context of what we're trying to write, be more blending with what's going on. It's a tough position you're in when you hear people that have small lots, like the people that have just spoken. It's sad. I had a boat, I couldn't put it in my front yard either, for the same reasons. It just won't fit. So I don't have a boat anymore. I do other things now, but I can't expect that of anybody else, of course. I wish we had more time, though, to revisit this ordinance to get out more of the arbitrariness of it. There's a lot of undefined methods, undefined definitions of things that are going to be an argument between the owner, the code reader, the enforcement office, whatever kind of thing. So the more we could put under definition, heights of the commercial vehicle, how much signage is on it, examples like that, that would be most helpful. So in order to do that, we'd have to maybe, who's a parliamentarian in here, I don't know. I barely know what Robert's Rules of Orders is, but maybe we could introduce the postpone indefinitely motion and put this on the table for a while longer and not be politically incorrect. I don't know what it would take, but I'd love to see this continue to go on a study. I think we're rushing this a little more. It's too much tail wags the dog, in my opinion anyway. So I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everything goes well for your family, and thank you for what you've done so far.
Thank you.
I got one more card. Matt Faustini.
Good evening, all. I was not really planning on speaking on this at all, and hearing the conversation was frustrating, because this ordinance is not just about boats and RVs. It never has been. The intent of this commission never was to just create an ordinance that impacted boats or RVs. If I remember correctly, the intent of this commission was to help working class people have their vehicles at their homes and things of that nature, and expanded into other personal vehicles to help community standards streamline their processes. So I know we've heard a lot tonight about boats. We've heard a lot tonight about RVs. I really don't care one way or another. I can't afford either. What I do know is that this ordinance, if you pass it, will help working class people who have vehicles that have decals on them, that will fix a problem that our city has been dealing with for decades. Like I shared at our last commission meeting, my mom was a mobile groomer, and figuring out how to park a mobile grooming van in the 1990s in a L duplex lot where you have about 25 feet between, these are not easy things, and that's what I care about. I get people's passion about their boats and their RVs, but I really care about us getting this done, not pushing it off, and let's allow working people to park their vehicles at their homes.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Holmes.
As you know, the first time around, I voted against this thing, and then I read through it pretty thoroughly. I want to point out a couple of things that, number one, everybody who's come up here has had a good idea. There's not one bad idea that's been at that podium up there, not one. I want to point out one thing. This is not the 11th commandment. This isn't even part of the first 10 commandments. This is an ordinance that, in one of the ironies, we are correcting an existing ordinance. What I'm trying to tell you I'm not going to try, I'm going to tell you. This time around, with some of the corrections and modifications that have been done in here, this time, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm in favor of this thing. But if you have a better idea, I mean, one of the gentlemen came up and he said, well, you know, it's not one lot size fits all. That's understandable. So is that something that should be addressed? Sure. Come up with the grammar. What would you like to see in the thing? And remember, every time you change this thing, you're going to have someone else with a different opinion on it. So if you're going to have an argument to do that, make sure it's a good argument. But any of this stuff, we're changing an existing ordinance. It's you know, we're not going to go in and say, okay, well, we're going to change the 10th commandment to make it, you know, we're going to get rid of that and redo it. No, it isn't that. We change these things all the time. This is not uncommon. So if you want to see something different in here, step up to the plate, read it, let's get real specific on the thing. The one size isn't going to fit all. Well, okay, what do you think will? And then do it that way. But just to say we're going to put this whole thing on hold, or we're just going to, you know, go back and start all over again, that's just not, that's not practical. Staff has got too much time in this thing, because there are a lot of good corrections in here. I mean, and that's why this time around, yeah, I'm going to go for this thing. You want to see something changed in the thing? Step up to the plate. Let's see your ideas. And remember, somebody else may have a different idea. Matter of fact, you may have come up with a better idea than staff had. I'm all in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
You know, I think there was a good point to define what the vehicle length is. You know, people consider a 24-foot boat 24 feet, some people. I can tell you that 24-foot boat, at least mine, was at least 35 feet long. So I don't know if we, you know, what's our intent? I don't know what our intent is here on this. You know, is it total length 25 feet?
Yeah, for this specific vehicle. And the definition of a recreational vehicle does include separately a boat and a boat trailer. So the 25 feet would be for the boat.
The boat, including the trailer.
And then separately for the trailer also.
So the trailer, if the boat's sticking out the back of the trailer, like some do, the motors sit behind the trailer in some cases, you're going to measure the boat and then you're going to measure the trailer separately?
Yes, because they're defined separately in the definition.
Okay. Were you through, Commissioner Johnson?
Can I ask you a question then?
You can't at this point. I mean, certainly, sorry. I might be about to ask the question.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to, as written, it's going to cause some challenges, because somebody reads our rules as written, and they say, okay, my boat's a 25-foot boat, right? And it allows up to 25-foot boats, so they park the boat in the front, and then we come along with a tape measure, and the boat's actually 26-foot, and the trailer makes it 30-foot or whatever. I don't know how long my trailer is, so it's going to be a challenge. We're trying to eliminate problems for our team, and this is that particular part is going to create problems. I looked at some other cities too. You mentioned Clearwater, Pinellas Park, the county. Seminole doesn't, I think it doesn't have restriction on the size, but as long as you're in the front yard, not in the right of way. Oldsmar doesn't allow any boats in the front yard, but they do have a hardship process. So let's say somebody comes and says, I can't access my backyard with a boat. They may give them a hardship. Safety Harbor allows 35-foot in the front yard. I'm not sure if that's the boat or the boat and trailer, but it also has a height limit of 11 feet. So that probably helps to reduce the feeling of the person has a trawler next door. I don't know how tall some of these 25-foot boats are. I expect they're probably measuring it from the ground while it's sitting on the trailer, so that might be pretty easy to get over 11 feet. They also require the boat to be perpendicular to the roadway unless there's a circular driveway, which I think kind of makes some sense, but it, again, might be hard, might cause challenges for our community standards folks. Dunedin, I think, has some hardship process, and you have to kind of build a visual screen of some sort if you want your boat in your front yard, but it is possible to get a boat in the front yard. But they don't allow any boats over 26 foot at all, whether it's in the front or the back, and they have a height thing. So we've looked at a small sample, but all, as was stated, I forget who said it, but as was stated, we should develop what makes sense for us. I think that the reason that we have so many people that have boats in their front yards is because we haven't been going and saying, hey, you can't park a boat in the front yard as much as we may have should have been. And I don't know that that's necessarily should have been the focus anyways. There's other challenges that we're trying to deal with too in our city. But this commission has talked at some length about this, and I think we're in agreement that we should allow smaller boats, not trawlers, in front yards here in Largo, because we're kind of largely a working class city, and we're surrounded by water, right? And we have some big lakes in here. I don't know if anybody's using boats on those lakes, but we're surrounded by water. And a lot of our residents use boats regularly. So we need to make it simple. I don't know what the answer is, but I think we need to look at boat length, like a registered boat length. Unless you built your own boat, it's going to say it's a Grady White 25 foot, right? And it's going to be 25 foot. So you don't have to, as a boat owner, go out there and guess how much the code enforcement person is going to look at that boat as. I don't know. I hope that would make it easier. I also like the perpendicular to the road option. There was a question about mulch, allowing mulch to be underneath the boat as opposed to grass. And I think in our discussion, something prepared like a mulch bed or a crushed stone or bricks. It doesn't have to be concrete to be an improved surface. Is that correct? Okay. So I think we're covered there, and we can make it a permeable surface, and it doesn't create an issue with your non-permeable ratio on your property and that type of stuff. So that's good. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of questions in there, but that's kind of where my thought is. Any other comments or questions from the commission or input?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2024-01 as amended on second and final reading.
Well, that would be a problem.
I don't know where that's coming from.
It's coming from Vice Mayor Gerard.
All right. I didn't hear a second on that, and I have Commissioner Robinson has a question.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to be clear on the definition of length before I vote on what we have in front of us. So the mayor is suggesting that the definition of length be what is registered. So I don't own a boat, nor do I own a motor home or RV. So the mayor said that when you register a boat, that it says in the registration that it's whatever the length of the boat is. Is that the same for a recreational vehicle? Can anybody answer that question?
It doesn't include the tongue and sometimes what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'm getting to that. But so does the RV, if you register your RV on the registration somewhere, does it say this Prevost bus is 26 foot or 25 foot or something to that effect?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else is jumping in with an answer, but
Usually it's the weight, not the length.
Okay.
On a
So,
registration.
and then I think to Commissioner Johnson's question over, so are we, again, I think it needs to be clarified. Are we going to look at the length of the vehicle, or are we looking at the overall length? Because to the point of everybody else, and I'm very well aware of what a boat looks like on a trailer, there is overall length, which can be from the tongue to the back of the motor, or the actual length of the vehicle. Or I think, Mr. Bergeron, you said it was the boat and the trailer are separate because they're both recreational.
Yes, the way it's written right now, we would be measuring the boat and the trailer separately. So if the whole length with the boat on the trailer was 30 feet, but the boat itself was 25 feet and it's also on the 25-foot trailer, that would be okay.
That part makes no sense for some reason.
No, I
Excuse me,
understand.
could you explain that one more time, slowly?
yeah, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Gerard, what was stated was that the way it's written right now, the boat and the trailer would be measured separately. So a 25-foot boat, if it's actually 25 from bow to stern, and would be measured at 25 feet, and if it's sitting on a 25-foot trailer, and that trailer's 25 feet, but together they are longer than that, it would still be okay.
So, okay, thank you. So a 25-foot boat on a trailer that actually measured 29 feet, would it still be within the, would
So
it be
not-
within the standard of 25 feet?
Not according to how it's written now, because that trailer would be, if the trailer was 29 feet, it would be a 29-foot recreational vehicle, so it would not be allowed, which is the way it's written now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mayor, that's a moot point because.
Sir.
you might run one vehicle.
Right, and I was going to get to that in a second, so thank you. But let us talk. Good point. So that brings us to the fact that, as it's written now, how would, I mean, if you're looking at the trailer as a recreational vehicle and the boat as a recreational vehicle, but you're limited to one recreational vehicle, how is,
We do consider it one vehicle and the boat's on the trailer. You know,
Okay.
nobody stores their boat just, sitting bare on a driveway. However, we do have people that have empty trailers at times, so we do have to separate them
Understood.
definition-wise.
right? So I mean, as was stated before, I think it'd be a lot easier if we could just have the boat size. I mean, we might possibly run into somebody with a 25-foot boat on a 40-foot cigarette trailer because they got a good deal on it or something, and then we're stuck with that. But I would suggest that we consider the boat length, the length on the registration. And most people know how long their RVs are, whether they're 25-foot, and I think it's a little easier to measure. You're not dealing with a trailer, and it doesn't seem as if recreational vehicles have a length on their registration, but I know boats do. And whether it's a 1985 24-foot Grady White, which measures 26 foot probably, or a new Grady White, which measures a lot closer to what the number they give you, it's going to have it on the registration.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, I know. I used to have a Grady White. It was a 1988, so it was a big old 24-foot boat. Commissioner Hulk.
Okay, so I'm just trying to comprehend this. So if the trailer is 25 feet, okay, it measures 25 feet by itself, and the boat measures 25 feet by itself, but when you put the boat on the trailer, you're at 29 feet, then that's still okay? Like if it, okay.
As long as it's on the property and not in the right way.
Right, because it's not going to be, it's not the exact size of the trailer, so it's either going to be halfway out the front or the back. Okay. All right, so that gives a little more footage, which is what I think people are looking for. So it's not just a flat 25 feet. It's two separate entities, which can actually eventually be as long as 30 feet, and it would still be acceptable. Okay, thank you.
So what my recommendation would be to have the registration's length for boats, and then have a not to exceed addition for a trailer. Like the trailer can't be more than 10 feet bigger than the boat, or whatever that is. And then you're not going to get stuck with one of these unreasonable circumstances, and it's pretty clear. And then you don't have to go out there and measure trailers. You just look at can you provide a registration? This looks like it's bigger than 25 feet. Oh, it's a 24.5-foot boat. We're good. And I think it'd be a lot more simple for our folks, and it's easy to decode for our residents. Does that make sense? And then if there's a boat on the trailer, and the boat is not more than 10 feet longer, the trailer is not more than 10 feet or whatever it is, longer than the boat, then we ignore the trailer. It's part of the boat. If the trailer's sitting there on its own, it has to abide by that 25-foot rule. If it's in the front yard. And does that seem more simple for you guys?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
We'll be happy to bring back those changes.
Okay. Does that make sense
there's
to you guys?
consensus.
And ladies? Lady, sorry.
It does, but there's a motion on the table.
It wasn't seconded.
Wasn't
Did it
seconded.
die? Okay.
It dies all by its lonesome.
Yeah. So that would that require this to come back, I would assume? Or could we make that motion, could we make that amendment now? You're up. Welcome.
I think it would be appropriate for us to bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah, to change the language and make sure that we have exactly what the commission is looking for, I think it would be more appropriate to come back.
Good, so does this commission have any desire to allow for a hardship? If somebody, allow for hardship if you know, it would basically go to planning board, I would expect. If somebody has a boat that's bigger or has some weird situation, we're not going to allow a hardship and allow them to park it into the right-of-way. We're just not going to do that. But, or do you think at a 25-foot boat it's not necessary?
Yeah, I think you have to draw the line at some point.
Yeah, okay.
That's a pretty
The
big
places that allow for hardships either don't allow them at all in the front yard or have a much smaller, well, a 5-foot smaller.
I think a hardship would open up a whole nother.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So what's the process for bringing this back if it's already?
So we can continue it to a date certain, which would be, we're in November, so the first meeting in December would be probably be
Could we-
okay.
Could we do December 19th? I will need to re-advertise.
December 19th. I can't make a motion, but I would entertain one.
I move we table this discussion or this vote till December 19th meeting.
I think we have to use the words continue.
Continue, sorry.
If you table it, it goes away.
Table it kills it.
Continue,
Continue till December 19th.
yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all as well. Next up is item number 15, no, item number 11, sorry.
Just like-
Thanksgiving.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, city managers, and city attorney. If I could have the presentation, please. Thank you. Yes, the item before you tonight is the second reading of ordinance number 2024-04, which is amending the Chapter 12 sign standards, as well as some of the other sections related to signs and Chapter 20 definitions. So changes from the first reading include allowing the flagpole height along US 19 change from, actually that should say 130 feet to 75 feet above the crown of the road, as was Commission's directive. And also, we have changed some of the wording surrounding public art and commercial speech has been changed to commercial message per our city attorney Zimmett's request. So there's some changes to different sections that have reflected the commercial message term. And also, we've clarified a little bit more that some of the public art, if it does contain a commercial message, should be counted as a sign and would be subject to the sign area allowances. Changes, additional changes from the first reading include some refining of the Chapter 20 definitions that, again, are related to the commercial message, non-commercial message, murals, public art, and signs. Those would just be the definitions related to those. Formal actions to date, we've had several, a work session, 2 community development advisory board meetings, planning board, first reading of city commission, and then tonight is the second reading city commission for second and final reading. Assuming the Chapter 12 sign standard in the ordinance 2024 is passed tonight, staff would be updating some of the permit applications related to signs, including our master sign permit form, our different applications for grand opening and promotional signs and temporary event permits. All those would need to be updated. That's just an administrative procedure. And then also we are proposing to update the city's website to provide a little more user-friendly frequently asked questions related to the sign code. And staff is available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2024-04, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Largo, Florida, amending Chapter 12 sign standards of the City of Largo Comprehensive Development Code to revise regulations related to master sign plan requirements, hardship relief and appeals, portable signs, temporary signs, damaged signs, freestanding monumental signs, flags, real estate signs, construction signs, wayfinding signs, stadium athletic field banners, murals, and signage in the community redevelopment districts, repealing subsection 15.11.3.C2, standards for donation bins, repealing subsection 15.17.8, alternate master sign plan for non-residential developments, amending section 16.6, temporary events, including tent sales and other extension of premise permits, amending section 16.6.3, restrictions, to amend timeframes for temporary events, and amending sections of Chapter 20, definitions, to amend and create related definitions, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions? I had a question or a comment. And I mentioned this last time under 1213.4 in the CRD's allowance for up to 50% of the window to have advertising on it. And there wasn't really an answer to where that came from other than, and I don't like that. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that 25% of a window is plenty for signage. If you look, picture in your head a storefront that has, and I'm not talking about holiday decorations or anything like that, but if it's completely plastered in advertisement, it doesn't look quite as nice as one that has maybe 25%. And especially in our CRDs, that means that's important to me. I think it's important to our residents and our business people. Many of our downtown businesses have very little in their windows, other than maybe some flowers or something if it's a flower shop. And I think the ones that are plastered with signage don't look as nice. And that's maybe that's an aesthetic thing for me or a personal preference, but I haven't had anybody since I've been elected come up to me and say, you know, we should allow more than 25% signage on the windows. So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure exactly why we're increasing that. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way up here. Or I agree.
Yeah, that's understandable. It can, originally staff was envisioning a seamless sign that could cover up to 50%, but it could be individual signs like you would see at some convenience stores and stuff that do tend to look cluttered. Right. And we would be only, looking at whether it's covering 50%. So that's understandable if commission chooses to.
I think staff innocently was trying to help businesses that might need more advertising or feel like they might need some more advertising. But I don't think that 50% of your windows is necessary. Commissioner Smith.
You said you get comments or questions. Has any business come in asking for a 50% cover?
No. Originally, our community engagement folks were asking for 100% of these vacant building windows to be covered, and that was incorporated into this, and inadvertently staff increased the overall area for the CRDs to have up to 50%. So that's where that came from. But we haven't been asked by any businesses directly.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to be clear, the 100% for a vacant building, if they're redoing it or whatever, that's still in here, and they're still able to do that. In fact, they could put coming soon, John's Pizza Place, 100% of the window while they're doing the build out. Once it's occupied, it goes down to the 25%, according to what's presented here, right?
Correct.
Well, hopefully we change that back to 25%.
Correct.
But I would need somebody else to participate
What's
in
that section again?
It's 12.13.4, and then 2A.
12-13-4,
Yep. And then
2A.
might be 1A.
1A.
Getting older, I need these every now and then. 1A.
Well, I move to amend ordinance number 2024-04, section 1213-04, section 1A to 25% instead of 50%.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2024-04 on second, as amended on second and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Next is item number 12, ordinance number 2024-06.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. This is the second reading of 2024-06. This is our fourth of our quarterly budget amendments. This is a retroactive budget amendment for fiscal year 2023, appropriating funding for various personnel, operating, and capital needs that arose throughout the fourth quarter of the year. There have been no changes since first reading. Staff's available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2024-06, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget adopted by resolution number 2337 by $1,765,200 for various personnel, operating, capital, and other needs as described in Exhibit A to this ordinance.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2024-06 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is ordinance number 2024-07.
Thank you. 2024-07 is also the second reading of a budget amendment for the prior fiscal year. This is related to Hurricane Idalia response expenses that we are expecting to recoup as much as we can from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, but this provides us with that appropriation for those expenses that are showing up at the end of the year. There were no changes since first reading. Staff's available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget adopted by resolution number 2337 by appropriating expenditures in the amount of $200,500 within the general fund, $2,800 within the CDBG fund, $300 within the Community Redevelopment Agency West Bay Drive Fund, $6,000 within the Construction Services Fund, $8,800 within the Stormwater Fund, $800 within the ARP COVID Recovery Fund, $19,500 within the Wastewater Operations Fund, $1,900 within the Solid Waste Fund, and $3,300 within the Fleet Services Fund for Hurricane Idalia response expenditures and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards?
We have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move, go ahead.
No, I move to adopt ordinance number 2024-07 on second final reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Hey, Will, let us know when you get as much as we can.
Certainly will. Next is item number 14, resolution number 2385.
Good evening. Assistant City Attorney Jay Cena reporting on Resolution 2385. The City of Largo has had representation on the governing board of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA, for well over 50 years. Presently, Commissioner Jamie Robinson serves as the City of Largo's appointee. Mr. Robinson requested this resolution to express the city's opposition to a proposed bill that would amend the special act that created PSTA, therefore changing the governance and potentially leaving the city with no representation on the PSTA board. In close, resolution number 2385 states the City Commission's opposition to the proposed bill. With that, are there any questions for myself, city staff, Chris Hawks, or your very own Commissioner Robinson?
Resolution number 2385, a resolution of the City of Largo, Florida, expressing the city's opposition to a proposed bill amending the special act that created the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, directing city officials to provide a copy of this resolution to the Pinellas County Legislative Delegation and other interested parties, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update since I asked for this. I was in Tallahassee last week, Monday and Tuesday, and spoke with every member of our delegation, myself, Mr. Brad Miller, the CEO of PSTA, as well as Mayor Saraki from Oldsmar were there with. And again, we met with every member of the Pinellas Legislative Delegation and discussed this bill in depth. There is I believe there's probably going to be some different versions of this bill before it gets to the delegation meeting next week. But, you know, the one thing I did talk about the most is, again, our representation, the City of Largo's representation on PSTA, and the fact, again, that we've been on the board for over 50 years and continue to obviously want to have some representation on that board, and believe, you know, I fully believe that we deserve to have representation on that board when it comes to, you know, discussing transportation throughout Pinellas County, particularly Largo. So I would appreciate if we could, you know, pass this on, send it to the legislative delegation. I would also ask that it gets sent to, if we can send it to PSTA themselves, to Brad and PSTA. And, you know, again, I had some very good discussions. I think I don't want to get into any details and maybe say something out of line there, but I just want to, I do believe there will be some work done behind the scenes to provide a different bill. It's probably not going to get, they probably will not, it will come out of the delegation meeting, but what comes out of the delegation meeting will probably not be this bill here, but I think I would, regardless of whatever that is, what is on the drafted now, I think we definitely need to send a resolution in opposition to. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I move to approve resolution number 2385.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is item number 15.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We're here this evening to discuss and review a potential contract with a muralist for the Horizon Complex in downtown Largo. Next slide, please. I want to just briefly go over what the project goal was. To create a unique and inviting space, promote community engagement, create a destination for downtown, and energize the space throughout the day and into the evening. So there are various locations that have been identified for art. On the outside of the building, you'll see in the plaza, which faces west, it's on the north side of the plaza and faces west, will be a large mural. This will be the largest installation. And then on the southwest side of the building, which borders 5th Street, there is another opportunity for a mural as well. And the goal is for both of these murals, well, all of the art, to be able to flow and speak to each other and to create a story throughout the complex. Additionally, on the parking garage, there are what are called these spandrels, and the spandrels will have another opportunity for not necessarily a very detailed mural, but some paint and a design that would coordinate well with the mural itself. One note is that the parking garage is not included in this contract, the spandrels. That is within the guaranteed maximum price of the contract for the contractor, Biltmore Construction. And if approved, if the artist is approved this evening, they will work with Biltmore Construction to paint the spandrels of the garage. There are 2 interior spaces that are identified for art. The first on the pictures on the top are at the city manager's commission waiting area. This is a large installation that may not look like the installations that are outside, but be able to coordinate with the murals that are painted outside. It might not be a mural. It might be some type of art that is a little more tactile, something that represents the city. And then the second piece inside will be on the in the lobby area on the large concrete wall that we have, and this piece will be, I believe, 18 by 18 feet. And again, we'll coordinate with the art that is outside as well as the art that's on the upper floors. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kate Oyer, the Director of Communications and Engagement, and she's going to talk about our selection process and where we go next.
Thank you. The Horizon Project Management Team worked together with architects ASD Sky to identify some who we thought would be great partners to work with. One of our opportunities we thought is working with someone local, someone who already had a name. We knew that the goal was to be a destination, so we wanted someone that has some experience in these type of projects and really felt connected to community. So 2 of the studios that we went to visit, we took a field trip over to Pep Rally Studios in Tampa, Florida. They're really well known as commercial artists. They have some really awesome work in the area, some city project experience too. And then we met with the Vitale brothers as well, who are out of St. Petersburg. They are more of a muralist, maybe kind of a mixed commercial artist, and have a lot of city projects that you'll recognize too. When we started originally talking about murals, I mean, Vitale Brothers to me was the name that popped immediately into my head as someone who's really well known in the area and has become a destination for people to go around Pinellas County and, you know, Tampa as well and visit their murals. So we really thought that they'd be really great community partners, and I'll kind of go through some of the reasons why we thought they were the best partner for us. They've been in business for over 30 years. There's 3 brothers, but Johnny and Paul are the main brothers. They've been painting walls throughout Tampa Bay and have had a really significant hand in bringing art to downtown St. Petersburg, who's been well known now in this area as an art destination. So that's one of the reasons we really thought we'd like to work with them. They have done work with the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Tampa Bay Rays, Starbucks, Marriott, Great Bay Distributors, lots of community projects that you will recognize. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the examples that I think would coordinate with the same somewhat style or concepts that we might be working with them on. So this is the William Poe Garage in Tampa. This is a project that they work with that is somewhat similar to ours because they offer all these different services, and they had the challenge ahead of them is how do we connect these different things. So this has the Strauss Center very close by, it has the Children's Museum very close by, and you can see how they kind of just created an energy through color, but it's somewhat descriptive of what they might find, someone might find when they go and visit this facility, but it's not necessarily a sign or anything, it just kind of gives you a feeling. This is a indoor mural, so I kind of thought that was fun. Again, Maggie mentioned this might not, but we might not be painting directly on the wall. It might be more of an installation, but it kind of gives you an idea of just how that public art and their style can really transform an indoor location to kind of give it that feel and look. They have a very unique style that combines the kind of graffiti art with graphic arts, and then they have some really beautiful, very portrait art that they kind of mix those all together. So they have a very unique style that I'm pretty excited about. This is another project that they did with the city of Dunedin. This is the Artesian building on Douglas. And then they did other projects that coordinated with it, which I thought was kind of unique. It's something that we're looking to do. That's on the power plant on the Pinellas Trail there. You see in the top picture and then the lower picture there, different views of that power plant. But it's this, you know, artwork that's close to one another that correlates, but isn't necessarily the same locations. These are just some other projects that you might recognize. One kind of more local to Largo, the Einstein portrait up here that you see that's on Ponce de Leon Boulevard. I believe it's the Bay Area Medical. I'm gonna look. I don't have the name of it, but Bay Area Medical, yes, on Ponce de Leon Boulevard. But this is just, it shows you the breadth of their style, where you see kind of the portraits, but you see the graphical elements too. The one in the top left is a residential property that they just totally transformed a modern house that's in a more historic area and made it a little unique, and the neighbors seem to love it. That kind of helped them fit in. And then with that, I'm just going to show you a really short video because you can kind of see their style.
We are mural painters, sign painters, and overall artists. I'm John Vitale, and we're the Vitale Brothers. We started probably about 25 years ago. We are mural painters, sign painters, and overall artists. And we've just been contributing to the St. Petersburg art scene since we got out of high school, basically. The St. Petersburg art scene has exploded, really, within the last few years. The popularity of street art, the popularity of cities' walls being used as the new school gallery space. It seems to be accessible to everybody. You don't have to go into a fancy museum to see street art. It's basically all over the place now. It's really been a great opportunity for my brothers and I to contribute to that. So we were super excited when the Buccaneers reached out to us for this project. It felt pretty cool to have them want our view or take on their brand. They gave us a lot of freedom on this. Me and my partner designed this piece. It's a perfect culmination between his style and my style. I think we're speaking to just anybody that appreciates street art and the process between having like a spray painted look and, you know, maybe not a perfect look when it comes to slick advertising. This is, images for the people. My partner and I, this one, when we teamed up on this particular project, we have great appreciation for pop art from the 60s, where you use, elements of comic book styles, and then he's more of an abstract guy, and we do a lot of realism kind of things like portraiture, and our two styles mashed together just make for a cool, like high energy, we get to flex our skills at the same time, and just try to impress people with, just something with a lot of punch. Obviously, with some of the people that we're putting on this mural, something close to a superhero to a lot of people. Going to the drawing board, my partner realized the importance of putting the golden boy, Tom Brady, on this mural, and on the other side, a power player, Chris Godwin. Those are the subject matters here for this Buccaneers mural. To put someone as popular as these guys on the mural, it just helps our art. We get 10, maybe, anywhere from 8 to 10 comments a day. Is that Tom Brady? Is that, and then we've had a couple of ladies pull over, and there was one lady in a Corvette, and she stood up and took a picture of it. And she was like, woo, like she was actually looking at Tom Brady himself, and then drove away with a skid. We were like, wow, that's pretty funny stuff. We just love the exposure of art and what it does for the community. It's just community building. If they can take away a nice photograph of it, that's what we want them to do.
So hopefully just by watching that, you kind of see what we saw in them, is they really have a focus on community. They've been well known in St. Petersburg. There's been opportunities where they had a string of vandalism back in 2018, and all these murals were damaged across, and they went out for free and fixed them all. Him and his brother went out and fixed them all. So they really have a focus on community. They do a lot of things for kids in the area, have a lot of art shows where they promote other local artists. So we really felt they were a good partner for what we want for Horizon. Next step, should this be awarded, is we really want to work with them on that concept design. Like Maggie mentioned, we want this to be a story. We want all the pieces to work together. We really see it as that, an opportunity to bring people to the project, walk them around, show them the artwork, and hopefully it tells a story of our community and people can connect with that. So the next step would be work with them on those concepts, kind of, we want to build a board of stakeholders, so we have a community representative, a business representative, if you wanted a commission representative, and start to talk to the artists and say, what do we feel about our community, what do we love about it, what do residents talk about, and then hopefully we inspire them to come up with some concepts that they can bring back at a future work session.
Thank you. Do we have any public input on this?
I have one card for Craig Murtha.
Hello again. This is very exciting. It's funny, I was just going to do a post on the Largo Politics and Policies Facebook page about why we don't have more murals in downtown, and here this is. We got murals. I love murals because it doesn't require, like building a statue requires pouring concrete and taking up a place where a tree could be. And like I said, I look at everything through an environmental and health lens, and so murals are so much better because the building is already there. You don't have to pour concrete. So I'd love to see more murals. And these seem like great guys. I've seen most of these murals in person. And I guess I wonder, and they're great artists, and I like the idea. I mean, I wonder about the idea about, holding them to a theme. I don't know, I mentioned before in St. Petersburg, they talk about an eclectic mix in architecture. They try to actually get an eclectic mix in architecture, because when you're in a downtown area, you don't want it to be the same thing over and over again. You don't want it to look like a college campus or a condominium complex. And in downtown right now, we've got a lot of nice architecture, beautiful architecture, but an awful lot of it looks alike. And I'd love to see different types of architecture, so that when people come downtown, they're wowed every time they go around a corner. And so maybe I would run that by the architect and see if they feel like that's going to hinder their artistic freedom if they have to have a theme. Maybe, these guys are extraordinarily creative, and maybe they can do that, but that's just a thought. The other thing I thought about when I was originally going to talk about the price, and I have no idea what murals cost, so I'm not saying that this price is off, but I wonder about the price of a lot of things that cities in general pay. It seems like cities in general, not just Largo, or let's not even talk about Largo, but in cities in general, it seems like I always see the numbers. It just seems so large to me. And I know everything's expensive now, and things have gotten more expensive since when I was in property management. I used to hire contractors. But when I used to hire contractors, I would always get literally 15 or 20 bids. And some of the conversations I've heard here before, there was one thing where somebody said, well, we got this bid and we got that bid. And I'm talking about a different job a ways back, and I thought, I wonder if they just got those two bids. One time I literally got 20 bids on a tree job. It was a big job. I was taking out 7 large laurel oaks. And the bids ran from $4,000 to $20,000. I ultimately took a $5,000 bid because they had great insurance, and they turned out to be fantastic. I can't see how the $20,000 guy could have did anything better. So I think we need to get more bids, and maybe we need to have somebody who's a real, a good negotiator looking at everything and making sure that, we don't want people from all these different departments negotiating. We really should have a negotiator finally looking at this and doing the final negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
No. I move to approve authorization to award artwork services to Vitale Brothers DBA Overspray for the Horizon West Bay project in the amount of $237,350.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I was going to ask what the band rolls
Mayor,
were,
I have a
but-
quick question.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Gerard.
Yeah, thank you. I believe I've asked this question before, but is there any idea how long the mural would last, and as far as touch-ups on the murals once they're up? Do we have any idea of that yet?
So Commissioner Gerard, I can answer that really quickly. We spoke with the Vitale brothers about that when we met with them, and they use a very high level of paint. It's almost like a car paint, to the point where they have murals that are 10, 15 years old in the area now that look exactly the same. One of the advantages of the large mural is it will be essentially shaded for the entire day, because the majority of it will be under the canopy, the solar canopy. So, the life expectancy is quite long on these murals.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Good question. I do have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item number 16.
Mayor, I'm sorry, one quick question on that. So they talked about putting together a group for deciding how is that?
Stakeholder take?
Yes, how is that going to, how are they going to do that? What is the process on that?
Sure. Kate and I have talked about engaging with different community members that, potentially might have some real estate experience, or member of the chamber, somebody that has a small business downtown or in the area that can help the team and guide the team with what their experiences are. So
Thank you.
it'll be a diverse group.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Chief.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Commission, for the opportunity to speak tonight. The Police Department is seeking authorization to purchase 16 Dodge Durango vehicles for the Police Department from John Jones Auto Group as a single-source vendor in the estimated amount of $771,520. I have staff available to answer any questions or comments.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions? No question. This is item number 16. There's 16 Dodge Durangos and there's 16 officers in the room. How did you do that?
That's all the ones without vehicles.
Okay.
Each one of them is getting a Dodge Durango.
I'm like, I think there's 16 people. Commissioner Hulk.
Yeah, my question was just about the, so on the 2022 order, so we're going to keep that in place for the hybrid order? I mean, so we don't have those cars yet, but these 16 cars are for this year's budget, correct? What, I mean,
The 2023 order that was done about 8 or 9 months ago, we're thinking that the longer the duration since it was put in, the more likely we are going to potentially get the hybrids. So the 2022 purchase order was caught 2 years ago. So we're hoping that if they go in order of what they received for purchasing, that one is more likely to be produced than the one that we're canceling.
okay, so how does that affect, though, the amount of vehicles that we have for our officers right now? So this is going to bring 16 vehicles in, and when will we get those vehicles?
We have to work out some of the issues with the purchase order that will hopefully cut on this, but they would be going on a transport vehicle. So I think the important piece of this is that they are sitting on a lot. We are not ordering, we are not hoping and waiting. They are sitting on a lot right now, and we've actually had PD put eyes on them.
Were you questioning the 22
So
or the
there-
23s?
So the vehicles from the previous order for 2022, are there Durangos that are available to fulfill that order?
There are. Currently, the 22 and the 23 orders that we have out are for hybrid vehicles. They've been delayed for the past couple of years. Our staff has located a vendor that has the Durangos, and actually they have enough to fulfill both orders, both years, 22 and 23. We know the Commission's, the city's perspective on getting hybrid vehicles, which is what the orders are. But they have enough vehicles on their lot at this time to fill the 23 and the 22 order. We're asking for the 23 now because I guess the concept is that the 22 order is further along in the queue and would be filled when they ever fill these cars.
There's still no guarantees on those either.
That's correct.
So, I mean, my question is like, so where are we at with our vehicles? Are these vehicles that we have now, are they going to last? Like, say it's another year to 2 years for that hybrid. I mean, I'm okay with hybrids. I still haven't been sold on electric cars yet, total electric cars, but hybrids I get.
I can attest.
But I just feel like, if where are we at with our vehicles safety-wise and shelf life?
Well, one of the reasons that we're trying to push the vehicles now is that We have the new body camera system with Axon that we're trying to install in all of our new vehicles that we paid for that equipment. We haven't been able to install those body cameras because we're waiting on the vehicles to come. Currently, the police department right now has 61 vehicles that are either hybrid or EV. There's only 3 EVs, the Mach-E and the 2 motorcycles, which was, again, we were one of the first agencies in the county to have the electric motorcycles. Other than that, we have 127 other vehicles that are not hybrid or EV. But the concern is now is for the safety of the vehicles because the maintenance increases higher, like any vehicle does when it's older. We don't have the camera systems, and it's kind of an industry standard right now. All of our officers have body cameras on, but we don't have them in the vehicles. So there are concerns right now that the length of time these vehicles are going to last. And typically the way it works, and Shelby can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we take the best of the worst vehicles when we do surplus vehicles, and we use those as our spare vehicles. So when officers down for, maintenance on the car, or vehicles crashed or injured or damaged of some sort, we use those vehicles. And the vehicles that we're using now are 8 or 9 years old. So it's just, the problem is going to compound until we have a definitive word from the manufacturer on when they're going to assign a VIN number to it and give us an effective build date, which they haven't been able to do.
Yeah, so there's an average of 75,000 miles on the vehicles. The 22 order was to replace the 2016s. The 23 order was to replace the 2017s. And to give you an update from Ford, which is a minimal update, but as of today, they said hybrid production was going to start in the first quarter of 2024. Agencies with a VIN number would be built first, but we do not have VIN numbers. We don't have build dates, and we'd be put in line with plant capacity. That is the message that we have.
Okay, and the camera systems that you're speaking of are the system that we approved, that was the $1 million cameras that we pushed through. I don't want to say pushed through, but that we expedited because we felt like it was something that
It was a package
So now they're
deal
just
with Axon to have the
because they're
body
not-
cameras that pretty much are in unison with the in-car camera systems, and a way for us to store our evidence and evidence.com. It's all one big package with Axon and the tasers.
Okay, and we're not using it because we're not able to put them into new cars yet?
We're not using it on these 36 vehicles that we're waiting on because we don't have them. Yes, ma'am.
So I guess my question to the commission is then, is anybody in favor of approving the 22 and the 23? I mean, I know that we've gone with the 100% sustainability by 2035. Our cars, the shelf life, basically, to use that word again, is basically 7 years, correct? So if we were to get these cars in the next year to 2 years, but purchase these vehicles, then when they're done, then everything can, hopefully the hybrid production and EV production is in better standing, and we can still meet that goal. I'm not making this decision. I'm just throwing this out here for discussion with the rest of you.
Yeah, these cars are on the lot. What's the timeline from approved to, how long will they be up and running here?
So we sent 2 staff up there, Deputy Chief Starling and our kind of resident mechanical expert, Officer Snyder, to actually get up there and look at the vehicles. And you want to speak?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, we made the trip in like a 24-hour period up to Indiana. We flew into Kentucky, which is a whole another story there. So it was. The vehicles, the dealership, we'd never heard of them, but the cars were immaculate. They're the 4th largest fleet dealership in the country in the middle of nowhere. So we got to lay eyes on them. The vehicles are on the lot, ready to go. They service the state of Indiana, the troopers there, Kentucky troopers, everybody in that area, and they have some inventory for us, which we haven't been able to find anywhere else.
Right, and so knowing that they're there, if this was approved, how long would it take until they're in use here?
Until they're here,
Yep.
we can get them here between 3 days and 3 weeks, according to when the trucking company can put them on the trucks.
So, and have we used Durangos before?
We have not used Durangos, but we have used Dodge Chargers. We've had those in the fleet for 15 years now? For about 15 years, so the same engine and everything, just the body style is different.
Okay.
And we had neighboring agencies bring their Durangos over to make sure they had the capacity for the equipment that we carry, and that they would be effective for the response that we have on the road.
Very good. How confident are we that if it's 11 months down the road, no pun intended, and we still are not don't have any news on the electric vehicles or the hybrids, that we can again go to this dealer and...
So we're not the only ones having the problem. Everybody else is having the problem, as well as the Chevy Tahoes are not going to be manufactured this year coming up. So everybody that's buying Tahoes right now are going to have to find something else. That's our concern. The only game out there right now that these people have is Dodge Durangos. So I can't say, based on, I would love to have a crystal ball to say what's going to happen, but I just don't know. Based on what the manufacturers are dealing with right now, as well as the supply and demand, it's really, really going to be up in the air.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone like to see photos of the vehicles?
Sure.
Sorry, this one, I've got 2 brochures from the manufacturer.
Very short.
I saw an interesting point, just real quick, in that Officer Snyder pointed out when he looked at the, well, you can speak to it, the air intake on the Durango as opposed to the vehicles that we even drive now.
Yes, over the past few years, when we have our hurricane season come, the officers sometimes do for rescue purposes or to save other people, they have to go into the higher waters. Well, the Crown Victoria had a water intake that was 12.1 inches, which caused several engine failures and took the vehicle out of service completely. That was the end of the life of that vehicle. Then we moved on to the Chevy Tahoe, which had an air intake of 23 inches, which is good, better than the Crown Vic, but unfortunately, it too has a limitation. The Durango has an air intake where we can drive through higher waters, an all-wheel drive vehicle at 40 inches. So that's from the factory. That's just a police package air intake they put on it for all police vehicles. So that's going to save a lot of problems. When you pull air into your engine, you'll just crack the cylinder heads and the vehicle's out of service completely. And the manufacturer wouldn't cover that under its extended warranty.
Yeah, I think we're happy with this current order. We're just kind of navigating future orders or what we do with the 2 orders that we have out for hybrid vehicles. I mean, my recommendation personally would be to approve this and then give it a little bit of time and go from there.
Sure. Get the bird in hand.
Yeah, get these, and if we're happy with them, and 6 months down the road, we still don't know anything about the hybrid vehicles that we're waiting on, then maybe come back and discuss that. Especially if we're happy, then we'll know if we're happy with the Durangos as well. Vice Mayor Gerard.
Thank you. A couple of questions here. I heard that Chevy's not producing Tahoes, but we have an order in for Tahoes that we approved a few meetings ago, if I'm not mistaken. Is that order going to be fulfilled?
I believe we've received every Tahoe that we've ordered in the past, and the order that we put in a couple months ago was for F-150 responders. And that's
right. And the F-150s are coming in?
They have VIN assigns and they have build dates, yes. I don't know when they're coming in, but they have VIN assigns, which is a good step forward for receiving the vehicles, and we have a build date, so it's a lot more promising than what we've received for the hybrids for the last 2 years.
All right, thank you. And as far as the 22 order of the hybrids, when or if it ever comes around to being produced, I don't imagine we'll be getting 22s, but is that going to affect the price or of the bid, or are we locked in on the bid and what it's going to cost if and when it ever gets produced?
They will be model year 24s, and they have locked in the pricing. They've just converted what we had over into the model year of 24. So they've secured the pricing for us.
But we don't have VINs on those yet.
That's correct.
All right, okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, how many, refresh my memory on how many of the F-150s did we order?
32
That's very quick.
F-150s.
I don't have it right, I have 24.
Oh, 24.
24.
24.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I move to approve authorization. I move to approve authorization to purchase 16 Dodge Durango vehicles for the police department from John Jones Auto Group as a single source vendor in the estimated amount of $771,520.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Real
Further
quick,
discussion?
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, just real quick. So I just wanted to ask, you said that right now there are that amount of vehicles. What is, in your opinion, what you saw and what you heard while you were there, of the odds of those vehicles in 6 months down the road being available?
They have 27 on the lot right now, 27 more. And he said that they're, as people find them, they're going out as we speak. So we locked in, like, can we get these if we go to commission this day, those 16? And he's like, if you want any others, you better hurry up, because they're getting towards the end of the year. And production for the 2024s are going to start here soon, or have already started, so.
I think they had 70-something when you first looked.
Yeah, they had 70 when I first looked, and that was a month ago, 3 weeks ago when I first found them. And now they have 27 left, so. I don't have a lot of faith that they'll be there for that long, but.
And they're starting production on 24s, which, so the 24s would, if for some reason we still know nothing about the hybrids, the 24s would be available then?
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, because, again, everybody else is finding out the Tahoes aren't going to be made next year. If they want a larger SUV, they're going to have to go to something different. And so we're expecting that the kind of the demand on the Durangos to kind of go up.
So is it possible for you to maybe keep in contact with them to see how the production is going and the supply and demand with them? And if it comes to like really close and we're in desperate need, that we can they could bring this back to us prior to 6 months then?
Yeah, especially if we don't hear anything on the hybrids, and if the Ford F-150s are kind of hanging out there and we don't know when that's going to happen. But to me, if we, in a month, find out, okay, Ford F-150s are going to be here in March, at least that's a definite, we're going to get 24 more vehicles, and then we can kind of navigate from there, and hopefully the hybrids come in, and if need be, we'll find 24 Durangos or whatever.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you want these back?
You get tea. Peruse. Have a good night. Thank you all.
All right, Assistant City Attorney Parson, do you have anything to add today?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. Commissioner Robinson.
I just wanted to, just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Hulk.
Yes, I just had a couple things I wanted to read, and this was something that I had read that kind of hit me. And it starts out with, please read slowly. It says, if you have food in the fridge, clothes on your body, a roof over your head, and a place to sleep, you're richer than 75% of the entire world. If you have money in your wallet, you can go anywhere you want. You are among 18% of the most wealthy people. If you're alive today, healthy, and you are more blessed than the millions of people who will not survive this week and die. If you can actually read and understand this message, you are more fortunate than 3 billion people in the world who are blind, deaf, or illiterate. Life is not about complaining. Life is about thousands of other reasons to be grateful and happy. To my family and friends, I'm honored to have in my life. May this holiday season bring you love to your heart, smiles to your doorstep, health to your body, and peace and happiness to your home throughout the new year. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to say how thankful I am for the amazing staff we have here at the City of Largo. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Holmes.
Just one thing, if you are traveling out of town for Thanksgiving, don't post your travel arrangements online. Tell us about it when you get back.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Gerard.
First of all, I'd like to thank the commission for allowing me to attend the meeting virtually. I want to wish everybody a very happy and healthy and safe Thanksgiving. And one comment, Mr. Murtha was talking about the bid process and the quote process for his property management company as opposed to the city's process. Would it be possible for someone to provide Mr. Murtha with, information about how the city is required to go about getting quotes for services? And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, I saw a nod yes in case you missed that. We'll get that information to Mr. Murtha. And I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And we have a lot to be thankful here in Largo. And I did mention earlier that I will be bell ringing as part of the Salvation Army's Special City Day. It's from 10 in the morning till 7 at night. I did have patients scheduled that day, so I'm kind of scrunching that hour together. So I would love to have, if somebody could cover me for an hour or so in the afternoon.
Do chiropractic work?
No. Well, I mean, we can work something out.
I'm in.
So ringing bells for an hour and a half in the afternoon. I think it's around like 3 to 4:30. Please let me know. It'll be fun. I'm also getting some other city volunteers, I believe, as well as civic organizations that are just going to come out and join me for a short period of time ringing the bell over at the Publix for Salvation Army. And that is all I had. And we're going to ask Assistant City Manager Pollack, anything?
I just want to thank everyone that is working over this holiday. We have many team members that are on call. We have team members that are working throughout the entire holiday season that will not be home with their families. And so thank you sincerely for servicing the community and taking care of Largo, and we appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And City Manager Kerp.
Thank you, and I want to echo what Maggie has said about our incredible workforce here and their dedication, but also want to thank the commission and everyone on the Largo team for their support of me. It's made me very thankful this holiday, and I look forward to being back home and with all of you next week.
Thank you, and travel safe. Any action items?
The only one I had was from Vice Mayor Gerard, that staff provide Mr. Murtha with a copy of the city's bid regulations.
Very good. Meeting is adjourned.